2023 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
I am here on time.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye. I'm here.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
I'm going to ask on this days, Councilman Dennis Dunn, please do the Pledge of Allegiance, and also have remarks on what today's anniversary is.
I space the American flag. Place your right hand over your heart.
Where is it?
You got a flag minute. There you go, flag minute. Everybody look at Chris.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also, 79 years ago today was that horrific beach landing in Normandy. 2005, over 2,500 Americans were killed in preventing the world's horror show. So, again, our fighting soldiers did everything they can to give us the freedoms that we have today. So just remember today, say a quick prayer for those that left. 2,500 American men were killed on that beach. My uncle is one of the beach pilots that did the landing. 6 hours of driving guys back and forth from the shore. They could never talk about it. As the Director of Veterans Affairs in Nassau County, the 50th anniversary, a couple of guys came in that never talked about it for 50 years. And as they told me about their seeing the water was red with blood, they were crying. First time they ever talked about it. It was a horrible thing, but it was the beginning of our freedom. It was the beginning of the end of the war. And we thank those men and women that served. So thank the people today, when you see them that are serving our country. Because they may end up something like this, God forbid. But they're ready to serve and do this. So thank you for remembering D-Day 79 years ago today. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, we have a local law regarding, a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Oceanside.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 1. Anybody outside in wish to be heard on item number 1? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Let the record reflect Councilman Oscarella is in attendance. Councilman Oscarella. Madam Clerk, please call item number 2.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Baldwin, Belrose Terrace, Oceanside, Roosevelt, Uniondale, and Near Valley Street.
I do, member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 2. Anybody wish to be heard and sign anything? No, I please have a motion.
No, I'm going to sign it.
Okay. If you give me name and address for the record, thank you.
Rita J. Meriday, resident and taxpayer. Just like to know the locations where these signage in Baldwin.
The Baldwin location, identify yourself in the morning.
Good morning, Supervisor. Tom Reed, representing Traffic Control Division. The item in question is in Baldwin. It's for Grand Avenue. We're implementing a no parking anytime for a resident's home.
Okay, where's that? The resident's home, is it? It's on Grand Avenue?
Yes, it's north of the 10-way road.
Oh, okay, so it's not.
South America Road.
Okay, so it's South America Road. That's okay. So Grand Avenue, South America Road. Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else that didn't sign in wish to be heard? If not, I please have a motion.
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Oscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Merritt, Roosevelt, and Uniondale.
Okay, member of the board wish to be heard? have any slips? Any member of the audience wish to be heard that did not sign in? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding bus stops in Roosevelt.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on item number 4. Anybody who did not sign in who wishes to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion? Pretty please.
I make a motion that the item be closed and adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding school speed limits in Woodmere on Irving Place.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips on this item. Anybody wish to be heard that did not sign in on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton. Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Levittown, Oceanside, and Wantagh.
Any member of the board wish to be heard? I do not have any slips. Anybody in the audience not signing in wish to be heard on item number 6? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and we adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the companion applications of Bola and Realty LLC for a variance from the provisions of the GSS ordinance and site plan approval, and to maintain an existing service station and operate a convenience store as well as area, sign, and parking variance in Belrose. This application also seeks a modification of the declaration of covenants and restrictions relating to property in Belrose.
Okay, Mr. Ullman, if you give your name and address for the record.
Of course, Mr. Supervisor. Good morning, everybody. For the applicant, David Altman from the law office of Brown, Altman, DeLeo, 538 Broad Hollow Road, excuse me, Suite 301 W, Melville, New York. I don't know about you, but the air quality today has definitely gotten me. I think we're bringing up project site plan, is that right, on the video? Well, I'll get started. The property is known as 240-40 Jericho Turnpike in Belrose, New York. It bears Nassau County tax map number section 32, block 9, lot 1. It's currently zone business X and has already been included in the OSS overlay district. It is situated on the southwest corner of Jericho Turnpike at 241st Street. There we go. Okay, so on the screen you'll see the colorized site plan, that would be helpful. Not in the area as well. Excellent. Okay. So the lot itself is approximately 19,653 square feet in area. It is bordered on 3 sides by public streets. Jericho Turnpike to the north, which is frontage of approximately 183 feet. I will note Jericho Turnpike in front of the site is a divided roadway, and as such, traffic can only proceed in an eastbound direction in front of the site on Jericho. On 241st Street, it has frontage of approximately 117 feet. Again, a bit of a unique feature, traffic on 241st Street is limited to southbound only. And then, of course, we're bordered on the west side by 240th Street with frontage of a little over 100 feet there. That is a two-way street. Existing development on the site consists of a 2,350 square foot building, which currently houses 3 repair bays, and there is a temporary structure which has received previous approval from this board on the west side of the building for a 4th repair bay used for inspections. The total area of that building is approximately 2,350 square feet. The convenience store that the applicant proposes will occupy the same footprint and have the same building floor area. I will note that the existing building also does contain a small convenience store, which in fact received approval from this board, case number 8819 on 11/13/01, that's November 13th of '01, to convert part of the existing building to a convenience store, and as well as to maintain self-service. So the convenience store component use at this site will not be new. It's already been previously approved approximately 22 years ago. There is at the moment approximate to Jericho Turnpike, a small overhead canopy which measures 24 by 51 or 1,250 square feet. There are 3 pump islands or MPDs beneath that canopy. Right now, there's one ground sign at the what would be the northeast corner of the site, right at 241st and Jericho. There are 2 curb cuts, one fairly extensive, roughly 60 feet on the west side of Jericho, and then one on the east side of Jericho. I'll note that the curb cut on the west side of Jericho is going to be substantially reduced in size to roughly 28 feet. There's one curb cut on 241st Street, which will remain, and then there is one curb cut on 240th Street right now, which is sort of on the southerly portion of that frontage. That's going to be closed, and a new curb cut approximately 30 feet in length is going to be opened roughly in the center of that frontage. Air and vacuum right now is currently along 241st Street. Character of the area along Jericho is principally commercial in nature. In fact, there are a couple of other similarly situated gas stations with convenience stores. There is one directly across the street on the northwest corner of 240th and Jericho, which I believe is Getty, and then if you head a couple of blocks to the west over on 239th and Jericho, south side of Jericho, there is a Shell station which is similarly situated to this in that it is also a 3 frontage site. The history of the site it is fairly well established. It received approval on November 1st of 1962 for a permit to open a gasoline station. That permit number was 1962063744. On November 1 of '88, this board issued approval for the pump island canopy, and at the same time, of course, the site was included in the town's GSS district. That is case number 8819 of decision dated February 23rd of '88. As I mentioned, on November 13th of '01, approval was given to have a convenience store component at the site. As such, the convenience store component, again, is not new to this. What the applicant proposes to do is to renovate and improve the existing building, remove the existing auto repair bay component. There will be no automobile repairs on the site. In doing so, that will, I believe, eliminate certain concerns, and having read the pre-hearing inspection report as it relates to cars parked on site on the street, that issue will go away. In addition to converting the existing building into a convenience store with Tim Hortons coffee shop, the pump island's canopy will be expanded to roughly 54.5 by 51.5 or 2,790 square feet, which is roughly a 1,536 square foot expansion. That reason in part is to provide, of course, additional protection for motorists fueling at the canopies, but also in addition to add 2 more MPDs beneath that canopy, which would be on the westerly side. And if you look at the colorized area or the site plan that's up on the video, that's sort of under the pinkish colored square in the mid-center of the site. There will be a new existing price sign installed at the northeast corner. In addition, at the west side of the convenience store building, we'll be installing a 10 by 10 by 6 chain link trash enclosure, similar to the other Bolo locations within the town of Hempstead. There will be 7 parking stalls, 2 on the east side of the building, and then 2 on the west side of the building, including 1 ADA compliant, and 5 on the east side of the building. Additional landscaping, which you can see in green, will be installed at the southwest portion of the site, adding more green space to the site and providing further buffering to the adjacent single-family and two-family residential homes along the south lot line. I already mentioned the curb cuts on the site itself. There are a number of variances which are required in connection with the application. They are included in the letter of continuation that was dated March 2nd of 21, issued by the building department, and there are a few sign variances as well, which were issued included in the sign denial, also issued by the building department. If the board wishes me to go through them, I'm happy to do so, but I will say that I know this board is intimately familiar at this time with the Bola brand, the quality of service they provide, and the aesthetic appearance of the gas station, as well as the quality of the service provided. This will be the same high-quality service and gold standard gas and convenience store operation that Hempstead residents, I hope, have become used to and appreciate, and we plan to bring to this site, which is, frankly, in need of an update. And this will represent roughly a $2.5 to $3 million investment into the community in that regard. If the board has any questions of myself, I'm happy to address. I also have with me here this morning Chris Tartaglia from High Point Engineering. Chris is our project civil engineer. If the board has any questions of Chris regarding the site plan design or any aspect of this project, he is here to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Just really quick, and I know you're getting rid of the repair bed. 241st Street, that's a one-way going south, right?
Correct.
And then is that the entrance to Cross Island?
There is an entrance to the Cross Island right there, and I believe the curb cut aligns fairly well with that entrance.
Yep.
So you can go straight out right onto the Cross Island.
And just so I know, Jericho Turnpike, I know that's the city on the north side. Ginny Driscoll is nice enough to point that out to me. Is it the divider, is there a fence there, or is it just a double like stone kind of divider there?
It's a raised stone divider. There are some decorative street lights that are within that divider as well, but I didn't observe any fence.
No, I was just wondering. And then is 240th both ways, or is it one way too?
240th is two both.
Okay. Any questions of the board?
Yeah, I have a question. In reference to Bola's gas stations, how does this compare in reference to volume of gasoline sold and activities?
It's going to be roughly the same. I don't have specific numbers, Councilman. It's a great question, but I don't have specific numbers. It should be roughly the same as other stations.
The only other question I have is, out of the Bola gas stations, do you mostly do any type of service to automobiles anymore, or is that something, a trend that you don't make it your forte?
There are a few stations in the Bola portfolio, yes, where auto repairs do still exist. And I know this board is aware, and we've spoken about this on other applications. We'll speak about it again briefly now. The ability, the cost effectiveness of doing auto repairs and the ability to make a buck, particularly given the fact that dealerships monopolize that trade these days, and the cost for the equipment sort of mitigates against. So it's difficult, to say the least. But from what I understand, the folks that operate the facility here are relocating within the neighborhood. I don't have a specific location, but I do understand that they're going to be continuing their business elsewhere.
Any other member of the board?
Quick question. Our guest yesterday at Bola C was good. Everything you do has always been an asset to the community. But I don't see anything marking on this.
American flag.
You want to put an American flag on either the northeast or the northwest corner in that grassy area?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Don't have any slips.
Supervisor, I have a few questions, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
In the greenery area, will there be an irrigation system?
Yes.
Okay. And does this development abut any residential properties?
There is established residence along the south lot line. Along 241st, you have two-family dwellings, and then on 240th, they appear to be single-family dwellings.
So lighting, that won't affect the abutting residential neighborhoods?
Lighting at both sites is LED dark skies compliant. Anything under the canopy is recessed lighting. Lighting along the lot lines is virtually sort of at the zero level, so you don't have light trespass. And one of the features I'll note about this particular site, and it's a great question, is that this site faces north towards Jericho, so the building itself serves as an additional buffer to any light that may be along and closer to Jericho.
Thank you. And as far as the dumpster and the garbage, is that going to be adequately screened?
It will be within a 10 by 10 by 6 chain link enclosure with privacy slats. So yes, it will be screened, and we'll have some plantings around it so the residents to the south won't see it.
And will the closure, is that remain closed throughout the day?
When garbage is not being either thrown in or picked up, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of the board? They don't have any slips, any member of the public who did not sign in and wishes to be heard on this?
Yeah.
Okay, give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Peter Day. I'm happy that there were some pointed questions from the board, and just since the public doesn't have access to this information, but we're generally the ones that have to suffer the consequences when these questions don't get asked and the environmental conditions are not considered. I'm very concerned with regard to the issues that are pertaining to the public, whether those local residents that were in proximity were effectively notified and advised of these changes. If you're saying it's an upgrade for that facility that's already there, I'm happy about that. But there was an application here previously, and someone stated that that the public had been notified, and a resident that was literally behind that property, not this property, had not been notified. So that is a concern, that you do have the input from the local residents. Storm recovery, how secure is the facility in terms of protections if there, when, not if, because we're in storm and hurricane zones, and the runoff. We already have a problem now with our water and the toxicity in many of the communities, and most residents don't realize that we're sitting on a powder keg with our water situation, and the proliferation of these gas stations seems to be in certain communities, and there's a dearth of them in others. It's raising a concern from an environmental aspect as well as a safety aspect. And just the control of the traffic, is that going to be a hindrance with the increased volume that I'm sure you're anticipating with regard to updating and upgrading this facility? How is that going to be effectively addressed? And the security at night for those who are working in that facility. I'm not really sure what the hours of operation were. I'm so busy trying to catch up with all of the wheeling and dealing in this administrative calendar, trying to see where my tax dollars are going. I didn't quite hear all of the presentation with regard to, again, the safety for the employees as well as the safety for those who are coming to the facility. So I would have hoped that, my elected officials would ask those questions. I know that Councilman Dunn is always consistent with asking about that all-important American flag and making sure that there's representation for our veterans. Again, if there is some type of support system, I know some of the other facilities have set up situations in those communities that represent and reflect the local veterans. So I'm wondering if that's kind of in place, or something for the community to have feel like they're a community partner.
Thank you.
Any answers to the
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Marinade. Councilor, I'll let you come up to the mic now and address a couple of other questions. If you can provide answers to them, that'd be great.
Sure, Mr. Supervisor, I'm happy to. So as it relates to notice, I will say that notice was sent out to all as required pursuant to town rule, and affidavits of mailing and posting were in fact submitted to the board along with the certified green cards for the mailing. This is an existing station, as I mentioned. This is not a new station. It's been in existence for 62 years. As the board is aware, and as is done at every BOLA site, security for both patrons and as well as employees is paramount. BOLA has and will install at this site on-site closed-circuit security cameras. They have central station alarm monitoring. One of the BOLA also has its own internal security program, and one of the things that BOLA does and will continue to do is work with the community, including the local police, to make sure that there is a place of safety in the community, God forbid, that is needed. The site itself, from what I understand, does operate on a 24/7 basis now, and it will continue to do so in the future. From an environmental perspective, I'm not aware of any issues as it relates to this site. And the site itself does have a clean bill of health in that regard. And again, BOLA has always been and will continue to be a meaningful and participatory member of the local community, and views itself and views that as very important, and will continue to do so as such.
Thank you, Council.
You're welcome.
Is anybody else who did not sign in wish to be heard? If not, Councilman, you want more?
Yeah, I move the public hearing be closed and the board reserve decision.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller? Councilman Mascarella?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for your presentation, and if you could follow up, that was a good question by Councilman Mascarella about the volume of gasoline and coffee at that facility. That's an excellent response. Let's to join how much important it gets sold. Clerk, if you would please call the administrative calendar.
On the administrative calendar, we have items 9 through 44.
Any member of the board, etc., or wish to be heard on the administrative calendar? I have a couple of people signed in for the administrative calendar. First, we'll start with Felix Takashi. Oh, I'm sorry, we'll move it first. Anybody got a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move the administrative calendar 9 to the 44 September.
Supervisor Clayton?
Aye.
Councilman Carini?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Mascarella?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ricacci. Your name and address, perfect, thank you.
Yes, Project Franklin Square. Numbers 10 and 30, kind of common question. Just some history. The moratorium on the Lawrence Inwood districts were put in place solely due to public opposition alone. Now we spent $370,000 on Cameron Engineering for that project, and now we're on moratorium. Now we're going to spend more money on this, and as well as the Coliseum issue. I would ask that the board invite Nelson and Polk to come in and give regular presentations on the work they're doing, so all of the public, which pays the bill for this, could participate and know what's going on.
Do you have a question regarding it?
Well, I'm just asking.
Listen, I appreciate
It's
it.
not a question.
I'll take it under consideration.
Well, I asked that you do it, and you could say yes or no.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Okay, then you don't have to answer.
Okay.
I just
You didn't really
asked.
have questions, I don't know what you want to ask.
I'm just asking that you have Nelson and Polk come in.
And then I said to you, I appreciate it, and I'm thinking, we appreciate your comment.
Yeah, that's all.
There's no yes or no.
Okay. Since the moratorium has been enacted 9 months ago, what steps have been taken to remedy the problems that were brought up by the public on the Inwood-Lawrence issue?
Well, hold on, is it a question?
It's a question.
Okay, so which item of question are you asking about? Then?
Well, it has to
This is
do with
related to
the-
number, if you're asking for any, Mr. Patrick, please.
Okay.
Are you asking a particular question about number 30?
Number 10.
Number 10? Okay. So this is the authorization of professional services of Nelson and Polk for the North Lawrence Town of Hempstead District. They're being retained to go through the district.
Yeah, I want to know if any other work has been done.
I can't speculate to something like that. I can only tell you what's on the calendar.
Okay, thank you. On item number 18, having to do with the purchase of the barrels, did the public already purchase these barrels, or we're just buying them in advance of? purchases, we expect to occur.
This is the sanitation department. Mike, if you want to come up, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just be fast. Not very. Mike, just give me your name and address.
Mike Computer, Department of Sanitation. This program it's a program we had for many years. We're bringing it back, and what we do is we're providing residents with the opportunity to purchase rain barrels and composters at a wholesale price. So we, through the bidding process, we're acquiring the ability to offer these materials at a wholesale price. So we're not purchasing them first. We already developed a list of people who are interested in it, and we'll be contacting them with information on how to purchase them. So,
I'm waiting for that.
yeah, we're going to get back to you very soon. We have to get the process.
Just to be clear, people already paid for these?
Not yet. They will. We're going to. Now that the process is over, we're going to be contacting the people that have already called in. If you're interested as well, we can give you your information. I'll gladly provide you with the information.
Yeah.
Nice.
We want to promote. We do want to promote the use of rain barrels and composters throughout the townhouse.
Were these barrels made with bioplastics?
Bioplastics?
Yeah.
I'll have to double check on the. There were different models, so I'll double check. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Because years ago, when we first instituted this program, I did my research, and it takes like 24 gallons of water to make a pound of plastic. It takes about 0.4 gallons of carbon-based fuel to manufacture a pound of plastic. So, the analysis I did about probably 10 years ago, whenever we started this program, it showed it would take like 15 years to break even, and it wasn't really that environmentally friendly. And unless you really use it on a regular basis, even the theoretical doesn't match up. So I'm not sure. Before you implement the program that's supposed to be environmentally friendly, maybe some analysis needs to be done to see if it really pays, whether it's really environmentally.
The residents really seem to like it. We've got a lot of positive feedback, and you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, people want to be environmentally conscious. So that's great, and we're going to support that.
Well, no, I agree with you. I'm
sure you did you're very big on doing your own analysis.
I'm all for that, but make sure the data backs up. You just don't, because you're collecting water. That doesn't mean that's the most effective way to save energy. Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. Next, I have Pearl Jacobs. Morning, Ms. Jacobs. Give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Morning, Pearl Jacobs, Union View. Item 1030, would this be the commencement of the beginning of the environmental impact study for the proposed casino at the Nassau Hub?
Well, I think number 10 is for, is that number 10?
Number 10 is for the moratorium. They're going to do a study for us.
So that has nothing to do with it. So what is it you're asking now about number 30?
It does say you're using the same professional service.
Yeah, but it said for if you look, it says for the North Lawrence and Inwood district.
Okay.
So number 30, is that your question then?
Yes, number 30.
Okay. Mr. Supervisor, I think you heard that the county passed a resolution giving certain entities a lease for the Coliseum. So we assume, nothing's been presented to the town at this point, but we assume that they're going to make an application to the town with regard to that project. So in anticipation of that, we know we have to do an environmental review. So we're hiring Nelson and Pope in anticipation of that application.
So, Nelson and Pope, have they done professional services for the town of Hempstead previously?
For several years, yes.
And would these, once this gets started, would the public be kept informed as to how this environmental study impact is going?
There'll actually be hearings held where the public will be allowed to come.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Meredith? Morning, name and address, thank you.
Okay, first of all, the only reason I'm not moving this forward is because it's a fire hazard, but I put it on the record that I don't feel that, there's no more safety issue. They removed the mask requirement. I don't understand why we're...
Ms. Meredith, do you have a question regarding the administrative?
Yes, I do, but this is my time, so I'd be able to finish.
It's limited to the administrative calendar.
want to finish my statement, sir. This is my time now.
Ms. Meredith, do you know the
Your
question,
time,
Ms.
this is
Meredith?
my time. I have a point of reference and importance, so if you.
Is it regarding the administrative calendar?
It is regarding the administrative calendar. and I'm
Ms. Meredith, we ask you to please go back to the
If you would let me finish my statement, I'm not going to be in the back of the room.
We are grateful for you following the procedures that have been put in effect by our public safety officers.
And if my
for
clock
both your
keeps going
safety and
at
our
your time, I'm
safety.
going to go over, so I'm
We're
going to know the clock needs to be stopped if you're talking on my time. So that will hold 15 seconds.
Ms.
So
Meredith,
on the issue of the
Ms.
administrative
Meredith, once
calendar,
again, we're
on item 10, if I
we're going to respectfully ask you to go behind the podium if
If
you'd
you
like.
guys want to try to move me again, it's not going to be.
Ms. Meredith, no one's doing anything, we're asking you to
I am
just be
back here,
respectful.
so
Ms.
you
Meredith, I understand
of
this
my
is.
time. I am back here, so now can I talk about the administrative calendar?
Now you may, Ms. Meredith.
Shake your head.
Thank you very much.
All right, fine. You're on my time, and I will go over because you did not allow.
Now you will have your 3 minutes, thank you.
Item 10 has to do with what? Because you already put the $10 million on hold for Inglewood and Lawrence. Why are we paying additional funding for someone to clearly fix somebody else's mess from your previous engineering?
What are you talking about, $10 million?
Item 10.
Where's $10 million?
Item 10.
I understand, but where's
The
the
$10 million that came from the state that was designated for Inglewood and Lawrence, and I believe that this township, because you're trying to do the same chicanery with Baldwin, but we caught it. So you put it on hold with regard to Inglewood. So you wanted to answer that question, I did. Can I get an answer to what is the parameters with item 10?
Ms. Meredith, I'm trying.
Item 10, I'd like an answer, and that's on the
Meredith,
administrative
if you know, it's a world of give and take to answer the question. You have to let us. There is no $10 million allocation to the Inglewood facility or area.
Okay, so what are we doing this? What is the professional services for in Nelson and Pope that has no diversity as far as I can see, and you also have them listed on item 30? Because we already know when the zoning issue comes to this body with regard to the casino, you all are already going to say yes. So you're going to be wasting time and taxpayer money. So Nelson and Pope's involvement with this item for 10 and item 30, I'd like an answer. Thank you. Again, I'm owed another 30 seconds on the clock.
Ms. Meredith, you're doing a great job keeping the time on the clock.
Can I get an answer to the question, sir?
Ms. Meredith, I'm trying to. You just keep interrupting. I can't help it. But number 10 is in relation to the North Lawrence Inglewood District. Is that correct, Mr. Maragano?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. That's very kind of you. So that's it. It's a study. You might recall, a number of residents came in and expressed concern with the zone, and we put a moratorium into effect, and Nelson and Pope are going to be studying that. Is that correct, Mr. Maragano?
That is absolutely correct.
Now, in relation to item number 30, can you again explain what that is?
You mentioned the casino. It's coming, that application is going to come to the town. We are required to do certain studies, one of which is CEQA. So in anticipation, though no application has been presented to the town at this point, in anticipation of that application coming, the county wouldn't have given it to them if they didn't anticipate them coming to the town. We are hiring a professional consultant with a world of experience, not just in this town, but all across Nassau and Suffolk County, to assist us in the review of that application.
And that application would be fair to be, the state controls the testing of it, but there will be a development of some sort, because I believe I read a news statement that regardless if the state gives a license or not, they've committed to a development of that facility regardless. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Nelson and Pope was chosen why? There's no diversity within that company.
Oh, that's your opinion.
It's bad. Look at their leadership. A picture says 1,000 words. Where was the outreach as far as other professional services? You have a lot of salute to veterans here, but you don't have any companies listed here that are veteran-owned, minority-owned, or women-owned. So tell me where the diversity is in this township. Please. Can you see somebody try? Lastly, before I run out of time and somebody tries to move me again, yes, I know, this is my time now. You don't want anybody interrupting you or your time. The COVID funding that that ceiling bill is calling back. What about that rainy day fund that a lot of the millions of dollars of COVID was secured for the town?
Well, thank you.
That's getting called back.
It's always a pleasure. I don't have any, thank you, Ms. Meredith. I don't have any other slips from anybody else in the public. Is there anybody else who did not sign in that wishes to be here in the administrative calendar? If not, I think we moved it. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. That ends the formal portion of tonight's program. With that, we are now going to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there?
Second motion.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy? Councilman Gunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Boothby?
Aye.
All right. Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Aye.
Okay, that ends the formal portion of the program. We will now stay to listen to the comments of residents who have signed in, and we will start off with Felix Bergacci.
Felix Bergacci, Franklin Square. Last September, after you got the Moody's report, I foiled what the cost would be, and I was told that there was nothing now but the FOIL later. I didn't know what that meant, but I did FOIL later. I foiled on February 1st. I submitted a FOIL request asking for the same thing, the cost of last year's Moody's report. I didn't get a response from the town. On April 3rd, I appealed this to the town's FOIL appeals officer. I got no response from him. On May 5th, I emailed the FOIL appeals officer asking for a status of this, and he didn't respond. Yesterday, I submitted a request on the town's helpline to get help with this FOIL request because nobody's responding, and nobody responded to that. Can someone direct me to someone I could talk to regarding this? I know you sometimes not allowed to ask questions here, but you direct people to meet them in the back or something like that.
Mr. Bergacci, I'll take care of that. I saw your email in the
Yes.
last day or two with regard to that. I was a little disturbed that it wasn't resolved. It'll be resolved in the next couple of days.
The next couple of days.
Yes, that's correct. Part of the problem is, Mr. Bergacci, is that you foil a number of things, and it's not really a problem. You have the absolute right to do it. But I asked about it, and the volume that you filed.
How many was the volume?
I can't give you the number, but I spoke to our compliance officer, and I see your emails and your FOIL requests. It's a number.
Give the number.
Well,
Mr. Bergacci, he's answering your question. He's actually trying to be really nice here. You know,
Sorry,
he said
very vague.
no, he's not. He actually said that he doesn't know the number. You're like, give me the number. No, he said he doesn't know the number.
But that question that you asked will be resolved in the next couple of days.
Okay. Because it's not a large volume, and if you look at the numbers, what I've done this year, there were probably more FOIL requests due to the fact that you're not complying with the open meetings law and providing the data with the resolutions as required by the law. Count them up the next time at the next meeting, give me the number, because just saying it's big, it's small, or something like that, that says really nothing. Give me the actual number, because subtract the ones where you guys violated the law. Mention that at the town board meeting, do that, you violated the law, and then we'll talk. Because to talk about this in a vague sense, it's enough. You already tried to, get away with a lot of stuff as it is, not giving information. When I foiled federal CARES money, where Clavin was bragging about how transparent it was, it took 13 months to get the data, and one of the FOIL requests only had 1 page associated with it, and your lawyer says, large amount, too much, and half the pages you gave me, probably more than half, probably about 80% of them, had nothing to do with what the COVID-19 committee would have reviewed. It had to do with OSHA certificates and training certificates and correspondence between purchasing and the vendors. I didn't want that. I didn't need that. Whatever your COVID-19 committee approved, you looked at expenditures, you looked at the product or service that you're purchasing, whether it complied with the CARES laws. That's all I wanted, and that's all I asked for. And you gave me 3,800 pages, 90%. I think about 250 pages is what I really wanted, and some of those were duplicates, so they weren't even necessary, probably maybe 100 total. But you made a big deal over nothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bergacci, and thanks for taking your valid interest in our triple bond ratings that John Mascarino got for us last year. Great work, John Mascarino. We all appreciate your great work. Next, I have Joan Santori. Joan Santori. Fred Nass. Mr. Nass, your name and address for the record.
Fred Nass, 27 Alfred Road West, Merrick. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I just want to ask the board, the town government, if you are looking through or are aware of the Moody Analytics impact of climate change on U.S. subnational economies. And what they cover is the exposure to acute and chronic physical risk to the town. That early policy actions generally cause less economic pain, and absent policy changes, large coastal states such as ours, New York, are especially vulnerable. Long Island ranks third on their list of vulnerable environments, geographical areas based on climate change, this climate change study. And of course, being that Moody Analytics is part of Moody's Corporation, the large rating company, they do governmental ratings, and that this would be affecting house prices and insurance costs for residents. Are you taking this study into account, and what plans do you have to use information such as this for policy change in the future regarding climate change?
Mr. Ness, is the time for we listen to the residents, or you can follow up with an email. And as you can see from, let it be our popular rain barrel program in the back, from the Leave We Preserve, our very special place, to the works that we do in our 2020-40 actually initiative of changing the fleet to at least hybrid, if not all electric or hydrogen. We take the environment very seriously here in the town of Hempstead. But if you'd love to follow up with an email or send us a link to those studies, that'd be great.
Forgot to mention the 25 mailings a year.
Mr. McConaughey, please don't interrupt. You've had your chance, so don't
Forgot
be rude.
that.
That's okay. If you'd like to, that'd be great. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Gary Schultz.
Gary Schultz,
thank you.
27 Upper Road West, Merrick, New York. I've been in the area of Merrick for 10 plus years, and almost every day I go out for a walk. And I've noticed things happening in our town. And trees have been coming down at a regular pace. Some come down because people want to build their houses bigger, but trees aren't planted later. And so I've had to change my walking to other areas which were more lined with trees so that I don't get so hot while I go out for a walk. The problem I see in the town of Hempstead is we're not mitigating the loss of trees by planting others in a more serious way or permitting so that when a tree comes down or is cut down for a pool being put in or because other reasons, a house being enlarged, that we don't mitigate it by planting more trees or asking people to plant another tree as they take down a tree, to find a way for the town to help residents, not just the ones cutting the tree down, but other people, to plant trees, to find a way to help our community environmentally grow in the way we want it to grow, to be safe, to be an environment which helps our environment. Trees are important and we need to have them. And as I walk streets and see more and more trees coming down, it's hotter, it's problematic. And we need to figure out how the town can mitigate that by the use of a tree ordinance that tells people what's important, what's needed to help us this day and every day, and into the future. I guess that's it. We need a tree ordinance. Somehow, some way, we need a tree ordinance. Please, work on it.
Mr. Schultz, and just so you know, actually, we're actually very aggressive on tree planting. We planted, I think, over 2 dozen at Elmont Park, and then I believe down at Baldwin Park, we planted over. And amazingly, actually, we had some people complain about us planting trees. I couldn't believe it, but they do. So we actually are very conscious of it and are rather aggressive in trying to plant trees throughout the town. But we appreciate your thoughts, and you can follow up with an email. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Pearl Jacobs. Good morning, Ms. Jacobs, and that is for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Bill Jacobs, Uniondale. So now that the lease transfer process is complete regarding the proposed casino at the Nassau Hub, the responsibility now falls to the town of Hempstead to implement the SECRA environmental impact study. The results of this environmental study will affect the lives of Nassau County residents for years to come. The study must include the environmental impact on majority minority communities, Uniondale, Roosevelt, Westbury, and Hempstead. These communities have been identified by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation as communities that are adversely affected by air pollution and climate change. Traffic impact. The study must include traffic impact studies. The number of vehicles on our roadways have increased tenfold. High traffic volume attributes to increases in respiratory illnesses, specifically asthma. And as we know, an increased traffic contributes to increased asthma hospitalizations. And data indicates that Black and brown youth have a significantly higher numbers of hospitalizations related to asthma than that of Caucasian and Asian youth in Nassau County, the town of Hempstead. The study must include our sole source aquifer. There has not been a recent report concerning the quality and the remaining water usage of our sole source aquifer in many years. As a tax-paying resident of the town of Hempstead and a resident of Uniondale, the community that would be most impacted by this project, I strongly request that this environmental impact study be transparent to all residents of Nassau County and the town of Hempstead. And the gentleman that just spoke regarding trees, I concur with what he's saying. We are becoming, in fact, I have a home in Queens, beautiful trees, tree lined. You can walk down the street, it's cool, it's nice. Here, it seems like our trees are just being pulled up and when they're destroyed, they're not replaced. And, but you know, sir, they'd rather have casinos than trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Say no to the casino. And Councilman Dunn, I reward your service in the military, and that's a good idea. I'm going to take the flags. You know, I love the American flag. I think I'm going to put it on the vacant lots in Uniondale to show that we are Americans also, and we want our communities to look nice also. So I'm going to put American flags on our vacant lots in Uniondale. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Next, Chris Jacobs. How you doing? I forget your name and address. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, Chris Jacobs, New York. I have at least 3 sets of pictures here that I just took yesterday. One is regarding District 1, around the corner from my home. There's a pothole that's expanding day by day. It's right there at the corner of Windsor and Windsor Road and Decatur Street. And also, I have 2 sets of pictures here, where in District 2, right over by the corner of Eastgate Boulevard and Oak Country Road, there's a severe trash problem. I frequent there all the time during the week. I shop there, I eat there, and it's, as you can see, I actually brought this issue to the Nassau County Legislature about 9 months ago, and I presented them pictures of showing how these shopping carts are in the bus stops, and they fill with trash, and it smells bad over there. And they informed me that that's a kind of sanitation issue. So I brought that here with the 3 sets of pictures to show the issues affecting the communities for quality of life.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I have Ms. Meredith. Morning, name and address, please.
Standing in the back row, 1955, I think Rosa Parks kind of made it plain that people of color, taxpayers, don't have to continue to stand in the back of anything to speak about the issues that concern them. And again, this is on my time and I can address that particular issue. It's just disconcerting to me that we continue to have to operate this way, be treated this way for the amount of taxes that we pay in this community, and a lack of service and a lack of respect that we get. And any day now you can listen to me, but it's okay. I know you can multitask while you're reading papers and chit-chat and all that kind of stuff. This is the level of disrespect. My concern now has to do with those millions of dollars that were tucked away, and I was asked if this was going into rainy day funds that tied to the CARES Act. And the recent bipartisan bill that I'm sure many of you didn't think was going to get passed, because you prefer folks to go into default, even though we're in a county that many of our union and representatives still do not have a contract. Our veterans continue to suffer. Just this morning, we have veterans who are walking up in shopping carts, doubling up in cars, taking buses to get to the Freeport Armory, to stand outside of an armory to get resources and supplies and food just to survive, I guess until another stand down. But that's okay, because, this is Nassau County and town of Hempstead. It's all right. You're going to spend more money, according to this agenda, on salutes and contracts with creative agencies, for fireworks that many of our veterans cannot tolerate because of the PTSD. But that seems to be okay, because this is town of Hempstead. I'm concerned about where those funds could have gone. They went to touchless toilets. They went to pay for things, bring in consultants that were not beneficial to those of the underserved communities. But now, there's an opportunity, I guess, for the federal government to claw that money back if it's not put into use. New York State said that there was messy accounting with the town of Hempstead. You blew that off. Now, I'm wondering if now that the state controller is going to be working with the federal government to get that money back so it can actually go to somebody that has some usefulness. You said Nelson and Pope. I'm not familiar with the company, but I am familiar with the fact that there continues to be a lack of diversity and inclusion in the professional services. I can wait, Supervisor Clayton.
Listen to every word you say, Mr.
Well, you're being disrespectful, and I'm really getting a little tired of it because you don't do that to everybody, just a select few. So I know my time is about up, but don't worry. We're still saying no to the casino, and we're going to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Meredith. I don't have any other slips. Did anybody not be heard that one side, that side that wishes to be heard? If not, have a wonderful day. Thank you all. Enjoy your afternoon.